Smackdown versus Raw. CODPOD episode 10. I'm Will. That's Brandon. We are the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling Podcast. As always, let's cheers. Talk about some wrestling, huh?
Yeah, I texted you last night during, or I guess this week during Smackdown when we watched it, and Raw, and it's just overwhelming. Just like, okay, I feel like one show is head and shoulders above the other.
So I was like, bet I'm gonna make up some categories, and we're gonna see who wins, SmackDown or Raw on our list here. But this week's episode is obviously number 10. Thank you guys so much for that. We're gonna do our pops and our drops. Then we're gonna do our SmackDown versus Raw, and then our fantasy match of the week, brought to you by me. It's gonna be the greatest one ever. I love it.
I don't think so.
Let's get started with our pop or drops. Pop good, drop bad. We do it for our reviews every single week. You want to start with it or me?
I'll start with it.
Okay.
Why not? My drop is going to be for Bailey this week.
Yep. That's a good one.
I'm just going to go right off the top and say it. We've been Bailey supporters for a really long time. Even though she's maybe looked at as boring from some people, it's like, no, it's like she's really good. Like she's great. And I know we hadn't really seen her much as of late. And like on screen, it's been kind of like here and there. She gets attacked, things like that. It's like, okay, here we go. She comes out with Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton. And it's like, cool. Perfect chance for her to really deliver a great promo and be like, this is why I'm the champ. I am Bailey. Remember me, basically.
But that's exactly what she said.
And well, that might be part of the problem. In terms of that's what she said. But didn't feel it. It was just a big miss for me. She also had some moments where she just felt uncomfortable on the mic. Whether she was stumbling over her words or she didn't know what to say or maybe her thoughts were going too quick.
Yeah, I agree.
She couldn't get the words out. Just not a good showing for her.
Yeah, and when you walked in today to film, that was like the first thing we talked about, and I was like, I've always been a huge Bailey fan, and like a couple of our friends who aren't huge wrestling fans that watch the product with us just because they like the big stuff. They've been Bailey fans forever. But I agree. I've thought that her title reign since Mania has been And then, but we were always like, but SummerSlam's around the corner, and that rivalry is going to be great. And this week's episode was the first acknowledgement of that. Like, that was their first promo at that. And I was like, you are the third on the mic in this ring right now between Tiffy, Nia, and you. Hopefully she gets over the hump and can get back to where she was, because I do love Bailey still, Mm-hmm. Well, you went drop, so I went drop.
Come.
Tiffany's teased cash in this week made me realize something. My drop is going to be the wasted Money in the Bank briefcase for Raw. I really like that. I really like the Money in the Bank. That's cool. Like, I like how they've done that. They've now done the story of Nia and Tiffy are a power duo, and Nia destroyed the champion. And on night one of her destroying the champion and them being a duo, she almost cashed in. It's like, that's good. I like that. And to not have that at all for any of the male superstars for the entire year, including like we didn't even get it on. We got it for an hour, and he already said that he was going to do it, so we all knew it was coming. Like, we literally never got the Money in the Bank this year, and I love, we love Damian Priest, and that's all a product of Money in the Bank. And it's like, I was sitting there like, damn, I wish somebody had it. I wish Jay had it. Chad Gable, anybody in that match at this point except for Drew. I wish he had it. So I'm still upset about the Money in the Bank being wasted.
That's fair. I know some people kind of push back and they're like, man, it's nice to not have to worry about the briefcase. But I thought that feud did not need the briefcase. You could have done everything you did in that match. And the briefcase is a chance to build a new star. Yeah. You have different storylines where it's like, okay, maybe I didn't think I'd see Chad Gable on SmackDown, for instance, but he shows up on SmackDown.
Yeah.
Like there's just different things you can do. And I know WWE has always been kind of loose with their draft about superstars going from one brand to the other. But this year, they seem to really kind of be stuck with these are brand superstars. They are Raw, they are SmackDown, and I really like that. But it was a really good way that you could have some seamless flow in a sense where, like I said, as we'll get to in a little bit, I think Raw is overshadowing SmackDown a ton. And you could have at least tried to inject maybe some of that star power that's on Raw over into SmackDown here and there.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be every week.
Jey Uso.
But you could have sprinkled it in there a little bit.
I agree. Totally agree with everything you just said. You want to go for your pop?
Yeah, I'm going to go to my pop. I think it's going to be the first ever non-Raw or SmackDown pop. Going with Joe Hendry.
Ah,
He gets his first win in WWE. Man is over
Yeah.
as pretty much anybody in wrestling. And to have him and Trick get that win in NXT this week was great. As most people, you see the memes, you see the song, you can't escape it.
no.
And most fans probably didn't really know who he was ahead of that before it really kind of picked up some mainstream steam, I guess. But great to see him and great to see that TNA WWE connection really starting to work really well, I think.
Yeah, and on SmackDown this week, they had on the ticker in the stadium, it just said say his name. Like, nothing for us on, who watch it at home, just for the people there. And there's video of them showing the recap from NXT and everybody's singing the song. Like, the entire time they're showing the recap of the match, like the highlights, they're all like, I believe in Joe Hendry. It's like, hell yeah, I love it.
It's such a good song. And I mean, I guess like it's nice to see like even on NXT, like they'll do a random video package and then just boom, face.
Yeah, at the end of Heat Wave.
Yeah.
Joe Hendry.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, keep doing that all day long. I gotta get a Cena Joe Hendry face off and like a quick NXT face off if Cena does an NXT, one last NXT thing and Joe Hendry comes out.
Yeah, or just bring Joe up.
Bring Joe up.
Yeah.
Main event title scene. Cena's final match against Joe Hendry.
Why not? I'm sure somebody wants it.
My pop, I'm going to kind of do two of them very quickly. One, I think that the reactions to Cena's retirement have been phenomenal. I love seeing 95% of the comments being fully positive and people like wanting to give Cena his flowers. That's good to see. Because growing up in the middle of John Cena's career, where he was very, very, polarizing. That was the point of him. Let's go Cena. Cena sucks. But it's nice to see that like most of all fans are like acknowledging what he did for the company, and they're like, when he comes back, yeah, do whatever you want with him. So that's good. But in real terms, for what happened this week,
don't let me down. Don't let me down. I got a name on the tip of my tongue that I think you should put as your pop, but I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Oh no, I should put Rhea Ripley, the return. She's back. That's great. That's great news for everybody, man. She's that, as much as we love the Liv and Dom stuff, the women's singles division on Raw has been completely stagnant. Like, Liv and Zelina have been the main title stuff going on for them. Come on. I mean, I love Liv, but Zelina, come on now. Rhea being back is just gonna ignite the story even more. Can't wait to see her back. She's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm not giving it to Baron Corbin, if that's what you were about to say.
That's what I was about to say.
God.
Why not?
He had one good move.
He was fantastic. Yeah, I mean, in terms of Rhea Ripley, there's not much more to say. It's Rhea Ripley.
Yeah.
She's at that level now of stardom that everybody loves to see Rhea. That time away was great. And this feud, like, it's so interwoven in Raw with Judgment Day and Liv and Dom and everything. Like, it's such a big dynamic, and it's going to be still months and months and months coming. So
yeah. Cannot wait for it. Rhea's back. Liv and Dom are acting up. Good TV. Let's get into it. Let's do the main thing here. SmackDown versus Raw. As you said at the beginning of the episode, you were texting with me yesterday, and you're like, man, I don't feel SmackDown right now. So I was like, that's okay. I kind of agree with you. Or at least I think so. So let's line it up category by category. I got 5 main categories here. And we'll give our thoughts as to whether or not it's a Raw win or a SmackDown win. At the end, we'll do just our flat out what we pick right now, which I think might be spoiler. But maybe throughout these categories, we will talk our own selves or each other into the opposing pick, or something might go on here. So, but we're gonna start small, go big. Okay. So right now we're gonna start with the stars from each company.
Okay.
So SmackDown, Raw, who's got the better star power? And if I've left out some names, it was a quick kind of thought in my head as to who are the stars, right? So on SmackDown, I have the top stars being Cody Rhodes. And this isn't like hypothetical, like the World of Rock and Roman are technically on SmackDown. They're not on SmackDown right now, okay? I'm talking about the people who show up pretty consistently. Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, the Bloodline. I'm going to give them just one group. Bloodline is a staple name now. Jade, Bianca, Tiffany, and Chelsea versus Raw, who has Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, Jey Uso, Chad Gable, Rhea and Liv, and then the Judgment Day as a whole. You list those out. Who you giving it to, Raw or SmackDown, and why?
Yeah. You didn't even mention LA Knight for SmackDown, which I thought.
I didn't.
You know.
Well, I was trying not to just list 20 names apiece.
That's fair. That's fair. But
just like Logan Paul is a star, but
yeah, but I mean, I'd say I don't know. LA is a different tier, but I mean, it's tough kind of when you look at it that way.
Yeah,
I would still probably go star power.
Yeah,
SmackDown.
Yeah.
That's who I'm picking.
Yeah.
I think SmackDown has bigger top end talent.
Yep.
The 5, 6, 7, 8 people that you have could be really good. Some of them are tied up in some weird storylines or no storylines at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of what hinders them. But if you look at just the roster, I think we talked about it originally when the draft happened. Like, it was like SmackDown's really top heavy.
Yeah.
Like, they have a chance to be really, really good.
But that top heaviness it feels okay with the 2-hour period.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're getting through shows. Like, I don't feel like I'm dragging during an episode of SmackDown. I feel like, wow, they have good amount of story to pump in here, and there's only 30 minutes left. What are they gonna do here? That's more of my thing with SmackDown. As to like Raw, it's like there are days when it's like, I got an hour and 45 left. We already saw CM Punk. Ooh, what do we got here? You know?
Yeah, maybe that's just a 2-hour versus 3-hour thing.
Yeah.
But like the SmackDown we just watched, I at one point was like, man, where's Bianca and Jade at? And then they had a backstage segment for, I don't know, a minute and a half. It was just like, cool, neat. They want tag titles. That people aren't even there. So like, I don't know. It's just weird. They could be doing more with some of those stars.
I completely agree with you. I am also going to go with SmackDown in terms of the stars, in terms of their top talent. Cody, even though people, the most popular thing or argument about Cody right now is like he's a better chaser than a champion. And is Cody getting boring? Is his championship getting stale? How long do we want Cody to be title? Cody's over. He's the coolest dude ever. Like, he walks out, I'm interested. His music hits, I'm interested. He's in the ring, I'm interested. He's the top star, whether or not he gets, you know, the most massive woe in the world, or it's, you know, oh, this woe this week wasn't that good. Is he losing steam? No. Orton is still Orton. The bloodline is finally getting there. Jade and Bianca, I completely agree with you. They're not being utilized to their full extent at the moment, but good Lord. I mean, those are the stars in the women's division.
When they're on screen, you watch. Like, you pay attention when they're on screen.
Yeah.
I just feel like they're not in anything substance-wise that makes me pay attention, you know?
I guess I would probably put Rhea above both of them at the moment.
Yeah, but Rhea's also been gone for...
Yeah, Rhea's been gone, months. And I think it would go Rhea, and then very close would be Bianca. Very close. And then my next up would probably be Liv, and then under that would be maybe a couple names before Jade, but the potential of Jade is like...
You didn't even mention Bayley as a...
No, I didn't mention Bayley.
Just saying.
Didn't mention Bayley. Yeah, one of the top stars right now, and I didn't mention Bayley here. Actually, I need to add something to my list. Speaking of that, but in terms of top stars, I just think that SmackDown has it down. We both agree. We're gonna move on though. Second category. We're gonna do. I called it the mid card, but not the main stories. So like other stories that are happening within the show. So not the top Punk bloodline story, right? Yeah. So right now on SmackDown, you have Logan Paul LA Knight. Okay. You have, I am going to give the Tiffy, Nia, Bayley story. I'm not going to put that at the top tier of story right now. That's going on. And then you have the tag division as a whole is kind of their bread and butter as a story right now. And then the other stories on Raw, you have Uncle Howdy, Wyatt 6. Not putting that into the A tier of story right now. You have The women's tag titles have been a big thing with them right now, mid card or during the middle of the show. And then you have Sami Zayn, Braun Breaker, and Xavier Woods, New Day.
I think the one that puts it over top is Xavier Woods carrying across.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna, a little tongue in cheek there, but it's got to be for me Raw. I feel like, if you just look at process of elimination, I guess like the Nia, Tiffany, Bailey one, we've kind of seen that a little bit teased, like the Nia Tiffany tag team. You get the Bailey part interested, and they really had a chance to make a first impression. Kind of fell flat. The tag division, you're like, okay, as a whole, where are the Street Profits? Arguably the best tag team that they have, not on TV.
All right, this episode is no longer about this. It's Will going on a rant about Montez Ford and Street Profits.
So it's like,
give him the belt.
Like, I'm just like, you want to highlight tag team wrestling, and that's great. We've said that they need it to for a long time, but it's just not the best tag team's not even there. You look at Raw, Braun Breaker, they're building up a star there, even though we disagree with like the Sammy stuff. Braun's really coming into his own there. You have Howdy, which is arguably the best thing that WWE's done in the last, I don't know what, year?
Yeah.
Besides, like, obviously Roman's a different tier, but like in terms of like debuts and stuff, like Howdy is next level.
Yeah.
That hit perfect.
Yeah.
What was the other thing you said? Carrying across New Day? Yeah, I don't really care about that, I guess.
We can just
but
delete that from existence.
It didn't happen. Like, it's not happening right now, but like the Chad Gable Alpha Academy stuff, like,
yeah,
that was really good. That carried for a long time.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I should have probably put Alpha Academy on there. Yeah, if you include Alpha Academy on there, I think it's a landslide Raw. Just because when it comes to like the Logan Paul LA Knight feud, Logan Paul's not showing up half the time.
I didn't even talk about that because I forgot that that's what you mentioned, because
the
Logan Paul's not there.
The tag stuff on SmackDown has been good in terms of the matches it's produced, but away from the matches, I was never too invested in like DIY trying to talk Austin Theory out of teaming with Waller because he doesn't respect him. Like, fair, I guess. But the Howdy stuff, the Alpha Academy stuff, that's just too good to pass up on. The Braun Breaker stuff, like you just mentioned, that we weren't a fan of how they went about it at Money in the Bank per se. But it's continuing, and SummerSlam should do it justice. That's really good. Braun Breaker, future star there. So yeah, I mean, Raw is the story show at this point to me. We're going to get in the next category is our main story, but just from 3 hours of it, I'm always more invested in the stories on Raw than I am SmackDown, kind of no matter what here. But yeah, let's get into the main stories. So right now it's split. We got 2 for Raw, 2 for SmackDown. Let me keep a tally down here, just so I can keep a mental note. We go into the main stories, and Raw has 2. Raw has the Drew McIntyre and CM Punk stuff, and then they have Judgment Day as a whole. So I'm giving that to like Damian Priest, Liv, Dom. They're very intertwined. I can't split that. And then SmackDown obviously has the Bloodline 2.0. Who are you giving the advantage there?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the numbers, you're like top stories, and you only have one kind of running through on SmackDown, which didn't really find its legs to me until the last maybe 2 or 3 weeks.
Month, yeah.
Yeah, and then the Raw stuff, I mean, you mentioned the best 2 storylines in WWE. You've got Punk and McIntyre, and now with like Rollins somewhat getting involved as well. And the Judgment Day stuff, I mean, it's just next level good. So those top 2, I think it's a landslide. I don't think it's really even close.
Really? I almost, when I was thinking about this, after last night, I almost gave this to the Bloodline. Almost.
I would say I would say that you can't do that because the Bloodline has been not very good for so long.
But neither has. But I would argue that CM Punk, Drew McIntyre hasn't been great for a while. Like, they are great talent, but they're never in a ring together, and I think that has to take away from it. Whether it be injuries and stuff, like, yes, like circumstances are a thing, but like at least the Bloodline is getting their hands dirty, while CM Punk and Drew still haven't really touched each other, except for the episode where on SmackDown where McIntyre handled Punk. Oh,
Yeah.
you can argue that the best moment of Punk Drew happened at SmackDown.
No, you couldn't, because
apart from the screw job at
which one? There's been multiple.
Well, no, the famous Punk counting 2.
So okay, yeah,
which wasn't at Raw.
Well, yeah, I mean it's pay-per-view, but I just think that the Bloodline stuff it's maybe it's been really good for 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah,
and maybe that's overshadowing the 2 months that has been damn, this is really hard to watch.
If it was Bloodline 2.0 versus Drew Punk, as much as I love Drew Punk, I'd give it to Bloodline because of their recent month-long stuff. I would. It's been really good. The Paul Heyman not acknowledging him this week with him beating up Cody in the middle while Randy's getting destroyed. That's great. I love it.
Yeah,
and Fatu is amazing.
Yeah, but that's so good, and Fatu's kind of carried it. It's injected new life, but then if you're just comparing the one story, SmackDown really only has one main story.
Well, yeah, but
people don't really like it.
But that's also the 2-hour thing. You don't have time. You don't have time for 2 massive main stories at SmackDown right now.
I think you could.
I mean, technically, their main set or secondary main story has to be Nia and Bayley at some point because that's the women's title. But like I said, if it was Punk Drew or Bloodline 2.0, I'm giving it to Bloodline 2.0. But I can't not acknowledge what Judgment Day has done for months and months and months at this point. But even before Mania and then after Mania, we've discussed it with Rhea getting injured and how they're going to handle that, and they handled it with flying colors. Not only did they handle it with flying colors, Judgment Day was hotter than ever without Rhea, and now she's being injected back into it, which is just gonna. I mean, that's going to be the story of wrestling. So Judgment Day is where the landslide happens here, but I don't think Punk Drew is any better than Bloodline 2.0. Did not like it. We have a couple more categories, and this is the fun one. This is the fun one. Mid-card champions. So, tag teams, and obviously we're going to leave off the women's tag because they float. You have the tag teams DIY versus Finn and JD, the Judgment Day. And then you have Logan Paul versus Sami Zayn, baby.
Yeah. Well, as much as I don't like Sami Zayn, I don't think this one's close either. Sami Zayn at least shows up every week.
I'm glad you said it.
It might be the same thing every single week. And it might be the same story in the matches, but he's there. He's at least trying to bring some sort of reaction from somebody, whether you like him, don't like him, whatever. He's there. In terms of JD and Finn, it's Judgment Day again. I think JD gets the title, which is nice. I will say it again, JD's very underrated. I know I've seen some people start to acknowledge how good JD can be.
Acknowledge me.
He's really, really good. DIY, they're a great tag team. They don't really ever have any story. It's kind of just hey, we're this really good tag team that can wrestle. People kind of count us out a little bit, and that's kind of what you get. So Logan Paul was at the Garden a few weeks ago
in a match,
Money in the Bank. Or no,
he wasn't in Money in the Bank.
He lost the qualifier. Yeah,
he hit LA Knight in the back of the head.
Yeah,
week before Money in the Bank.
Yeah,
or a day before Money in the Bank.
It's just man, he really hasn't been on.
So you're giving SmackDown, you're giving Raw both mid card title wins here.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not.
You're gonna give DIY them.
I will.
That's fair.
I will. I because when Raw this week in our review, you said this match was for nobody except for the people in that arena. DIY versus A-Town Down Under was a great match back-to-back weeks. That obviously that story's been building up, and so they haven't been tag champs for long. But I mean, they put on big time tag team wrestling matches, and while they haven't had the time per se to have their own tag team storylines, what they've done in the ring so far, and what they did during the story building up to their eventual win of the belts, I thought was good stuff and way more meaningful than what Finn and JD have been doing against, Awesome Truth and your boy Braun Strowman Roar. So I will give them or SmackDown the mid card, or I don't know why I'm calling that a mid card. I mean, I guess tag titles are mid card titles, but like it's a world championship, tag team championship.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess, and that's fair. I'm not gonna sit here and say you're wrong and disagree. It's more of just like, what do you like? Do you like the storylines from Raw with Judgment Day and how those have been interwoven with them, or do you like just the simple wrestling of DIY? Because I would say the DIY storyline, it's been happening and it's been kind of the same through line. But like for me, I haven't been like invested in the storyline. But when the bell rings, I'm like, okay,
yeah. But I mean,
they put on great matches.
The argument there is like how much of the Judgment Day overarching story are you gonna give the tag team champions a piece of? Like how much of that Judgment Day pie belongs to the tag team champions JD and Finn? I would say that that their tag reign within Judgment Day is completely separate from Judgment Day, apart from Liv getting them the title belts. So Liv got them the belts, and then since then, Braun Strowman and they've been fighting Braun
3 weeks ago.
Correct.
I mean, good Lord. But you're going to say apart from Liv getting them the title shot, you're acting like the Liv title thing and the Finn back and forth isn't a huge...
But that's not a part of the tag team championship.
I mean, it is because they have the championships now.
But the Liv...
Which Rhea never did that for them, right?
Correct, but that's more Liv's story than it is the tag team champion story.
Potato.
That's Liv. That's Liv working her way into Judgment Day. That's not like she got them the belts, and now she has no strings attached to the tag team titles. Like it's now they're just back to.
I would disagree with that.
How?
Because Finn and Liv are working together, and you can say that's separate, but they're the tag champs, and now.
But they haven't worked together since.
You gotta get. I'm going off of what I believe will happen. So I think that will happen. I think you have Liv and Finn continuing to work together with it, and it becomes a big overarching storyline of Judgment Day that Liv did all these things for Judgment Day, and Rhea never once did any of it, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm going off of is probably like the potential. In terms of like the tag team reign, like I would say it's probably like if you look at just specifically the reigns, like they were like 3 weeks apiece, roughly under a month. DIY has been better. I guess I'm to the point with the DIY stuff that I'm ready for them to move on from Theory and Walls.
Which will happen now.
So I hope so.
It's looking like Bloodline might come for those belts too. So they could be really intertwined with good stuff. Mm-hmm. But this part, ever since I wrote this down, it's paining me to say that I'm going to have to go with Sami Zayn. Because we spoke about it in a video that's coming out, but we were very big Logan Paul supporters at the beginning of his U.S. title reign, and just the entire his career basically until he won that thing. Mm-hmm. He was showing up a bunch. He was in big time matches. I mean, even with the belt, he had a big time match against freaking Cody Rhodes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Cody Rhodes. And then after that, nothing. I think the statistic came out yesterday that he's been champ for like 215 days with 2 title defenses. Yep. And I didn't look into it, but like I want to see how many just appearances he's made in the past 150 days. Got to be under 5.
Yeah.
And
it's not a lot.
I mean, one of his appearances was at his own house with LA Knight. So it's like, show up to work, man. You're great. You're a phenomenal athlete. I know his wife's pregnant and he's probably having to deal with that. He's also Logan Paul, who runs the biggest podcast on earth and Prime. And so I get his time is being stretched here and there. But if your time is being stretched here and there, drop the belt and get out of here, because that's a mid-card title that can be used to boost up people. Hopefully he does a job to LA Knight, but gotta give it to Sami here.
Yep.
Gotta.
Not much more to add there.
Last category, though. Mm-hmm. Raw's winning in a landslide.
Yep.
Main titles. We'll start with the women here. Bayley, Liv. I think this is going to be a given your drop of the week. I think this is going to be easy for you to say.
Yeah, I don't think I need to say it. I think it's Liv. And it's not close. She hasn't really, in terms of if we want to talk just specifically with the title, like you were saying with like the tag stuff, her title reign has been pretty disappointing in terms of just with the title, like matches.
Like defending.
Yeah. Just like, she beat Zelina Vega. which is fine.
Yeah.
But the both women's titles, I feel like haven't had like that push. You know what I mean? Like you can tell the women's division's kind of suffering a little bit because of the different tag teams and things like that.
Yeah,
Because and kind of their main stars are kind of out. Like
I'm glad
Rhea,
you brought
Charlotte.
that up because it's like a double-edged sword because you can tell that WWE is finally starting to like, we got to get this women's tag team division to be something. Like we got like those belts have been jokes. Let's make them not jokes. Let's build a women's tag division. But in that, yes, you've taken a lot of the top solo talent away from the solo. So you've left your champions with kind of nothing to do recently.
Yeah, and there are the rumors that the women's IC and the women's US are coming sooner or later.
They can't do that right now, man.
We were a big proponent of like, yeah, introduce one of them.
Yeah.
But you look at the results that you've seen right now, at least, and it's like, oh, they don't have like it's too thin.
Too thin.
Too thin and not enough time. Like you don't have enough time on screen to do that.
Yeah. Know? Yeah, especially on Smackdown, man. I don't know where they'd put it. I really don't.
I guess they just
But yeah, I'm with you. It's gotta be Liv in terms of the women's. I'm glad you brought up that, like, in terms of actual title defenses. Just sure, Bayley's had more in-ring, well, slightly, I guess. I mean, she defended against Piper, and is that it? Since Mania?
Off top of my head, I think so.
She wasn't at Backlash, and then they went in France. Or no, that was Backlash. But then they went not Money in the Bank. What was before that?
Clash,
which was Piper, and then she didn't fight at Money in the Bank.
Right.
So no, she's had just as many title defenses.
Mm-hmm. And if she's had more, it's like one more, and it's not a lot.
I guess it's not a part of her title reign, but in order to get to the title, Liv had a decent feud with Becky, so she's done a little bit more there. Yeah, I mean, Liv's the top story on Raw. I mean, what else do you want me to say? I mean, she's the poster child for Raw right now. Rhea's back. That's probably going to change, but at the moment, she's top dog. Like, yep. There's really no, I can't say much more. It's pretty obvious. But this one, last category, Raw won already. Well, we got two more we got this last category, and then we have our overall feelings. But the main champions. I'm interested to hear our takes here. Cody Rhodes, Damian Priest. Who is the better main title card champion right now?
Yeah. I was sitting there thinking about this as you were going down it. It's going to pain me to say it. I think I got to go with Damian Priest, though.
No,
because
man.
In terms of...
Ooh, the internet's going to be hot on your ass.
I love Cody Rhodes. I'm wearing a Cody Rhodes shirt.
Yeah.
As Cody Rhodes has more star power. In terms of like the reign itself, though, I've really enjoyed Priest. I've really enjoyed him being like a focal point of Raw. And I know Cody kind of is sometimes with the bloodline stuff, but overall with Cody stuff, like you had the stuff with Logan Paul that I felt like was just forced and you didn't really need it. I didn't get a lot out of it. Priest has been like a fighting champion. You have him interwoven with Gunther and Seth and the Punk Drew stuff, which we admittedly were like, man, I don't really like this. But when you think about it, like Priest has been kind of the center of it all. I just really enjoyed Priest's work with the title. And now Cody's bloodline feud's starting to get interesting. So maybe that'll change. But ever since Cody kind of won that belt, I like Cody. Don't get me wrong. And everybody's going to destroy me for that. We've talked about him being boring before in terms of, what feuds can they give him. I think there's potential to give him some really good feuds, but they haven't really executed it. So, yeah, I got to go with Damian.
I love Damian. Number one Damian fan. But it's Cody Rhodes, man. It's got to be Cody Rhodes. Sure. I'll give you that Damian's had more, I don't know, he's had more rivalries. So he's fought more people. But we've gotten two amazing AJ Styles matches out of Cody Rhodes. We had Cody Rhodes did just at Money in the Bank, he did the job and gave Bloodline the rub that they needed. What did he do at Clash? Or was Clash AJ Styles again? It was AJ at Backlash.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was
AJ again.
AJ again. And then he had someone in between there though. Anyway, his matches have been absolutely outstanding. He's a part of the Bloodline story again, which is I wanted to stay away from that after Mania. Like if you asked me at Mania, or the day after Mania, do you want Cody to get back into the Bloodline story at all? I would have been like, no. But they've made it work. Like, I feel like Cody's back up against the wall, as I said earlier. He's back up against the wall, and I'm interested to see how the champ has now become the underdog in this fight against this faction again. That's interesting as hell to me. But most importantly, when his championship has been on the line, he's done the job himself. And that has been the overarching story for Damian, right? The overarching story for him is that he wins all these title matches, but there's always an asterisk because, this guy gets involved or this thing happens and, Seth Rollins or CM Punk shows up and screws him. So and that's all great for the Judgment Day story and great for Damian Priest. But as a champion, I like my champions to win and win and win big and prove that, like, plant their flag into their brand. And I feel like Cody just has this flag at SmackDown right now where he's just like, I am the champion. Come get it. As to the difference between Damian Priest's title run right now is like everybody there is kind of questioning, like, okay, you're the champion, but like, come on, this happened, bro. So I'm giving it to Cody.
Yeah, I don't think that. I mean, that's, I would say, probably most people's choice. My thing with Cody, though, is like, I forgot about the AJ matches, to tell you the truth. I guess the Money in the Bank match, yes, that's a part of the title reign, but I don't consider that for that, I guess, because it's not, like, that progresses the storyline, but it's not, like, the title's not on the line. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
That's fair.
In terms of, like, the AJ stuff, yeah, we got some great matches, but I guess for me, it's like, okay, he's one of those matches. He's beating Logan Paul. It's been nice for me to at least get Priest, where it's like, with Priest run, and I guess it maybe is more so like a WWE credit. There's put doubts in my head about, like, okay, is Priest going to lose it here? Is he going to lose it here? Like the cash in potentially, is he going to lose it at the cash in? And then you look at the Gunther stuff now, it's like, okay, well, he teased about the gentleman's bet with Rollins, like, hey, when I keep this, we can go at it again. So it's like, is he going to beat Gunther? There's much more of like a question. You know what I mean?
I agree with that. There's more drama surrounding, like, the actual idea of him losing the belt, which is totally fair, because the second Cody got that belt, everybody was in agreement of like, well, he's carrying that until God knows when. So.
Yeah, and that's just the thing until, like, Randy probably. But overall, just the mystery of Priest, like, okay, is he going to hold on to it? Is he going to lose it? That's been really intriguing to me. So that's probably why I'm going to give it to them. But again, that might not be a Priest versus Cody thing. That might just be a WWE, like, storyline thing,
Totally. I agree with you. In that aspect. But so in our tallies, Raw is destroying SmackDown right now. Okay. So that bears the final question. There's not a category here. It's just personal opinion. SmackDown versus Raw. Which is the better show?
Yeah, I guess it depends on what you like.
Okay.
Because if you like the wrestling aspect of things, you're probably going to go towards SmackDown, which I feel like is kind of almost always been the case, at least, right?
Yeah.
And then storylines, you're going to go to Raw for them. I just wish we had some more, I guess, utilization of the stars on SmackDown.
Yeah.
They have the chance to be really good. And like you said, the 2 hours have been pretty easy to watch still, even with how much they've kind of fumbled the wrestlers. But there's such a good chance to improve it there that it's like, okay, like every week I'm looking forward to watching Raw every single week. And SmackDown, sometimes I'm like, gotta watch SmackDown this week,
Yeah, I would agree with you. That has been the case. It feels like SmackDown's always had slightly better wrestling. Raw has always been more of the soap opera of the WWE. Soap opera of professional wrestling is kind of what they call it. And for me personally, that's what I dig. I've always said that character is the most important part about a wrestler. Obviously, they need great in-ring talent, but if you can get your character down and I can care about your character, you're gonna win here. You can build into it. That's like LA Knight, right? His character is wonderful, and so he's been spending the last year working on his in-ring. So I completely agree with you. It obviously it matters what you like, but even at this point, I would say that Raw. I wouldn't say that the wrestling on SmackDown is so much. They have such a lead that you're not going to have fun with Raw's wrestling. I think you will. So I think Raw at this moment, kind of from post Mania, because obviously pre Mania with The Rock and everybody. Come on, SmackDown was must see TV. Mm-hmm. But now that we're post Mania to SummerSlam, Raw's been the better show right now.
Yeah, not much more to add. I mean, the wrestling in SmackDown, like you said, hasn't been head and shoulders above Raw to where it's like, this is why I tune in.
Yep. Yep. So pretty much in agreement on most things, except for the tag titles and the Cody Rhodes. So
Yeah, and the tag titles, like I said, you can pick and choose. I'm not gonna be mad at you for picking DIY. You're not gonna be mad. It's kind of just like a what is it like a what do you call it, a nothing burger?
yeah, nothing burger.
Yeah, it's kind of just like, okay, which ones do you like? I guess.
Well, let us know in the comments what you guys think about that as well. What you like about SmackDown and Raw. Last part. Do our fantasy match of the week here. Let's chill, relax. We haven't done one in a while because we've been busy as hell the past couple weeks. Let's get into it. I made one. I was sitting there watching last night. I was like, man, this Bloodline stuff's cool. I like factions. What are my favorite factions? And I was like, let's get a recent one, which pretty obvious. And then let's get one from my childhood that I grew up with that I like. We're gonna go fantasy match of the week. We're gonna go Roman's Bloodline, Roman Reigns, Jimmy, Solo versus Evolution.
I knew that's who it was going to be.
Triple H, Batista, Orton, and Ric Flair. Woo! What do you got?
Are we doing is it like a 4-on-4 match or what?
Yeah, we'll do it just 4v4 for nothing. Just main event of something for nothing. And there's a clean winner.
Something for nothing.
Something for nothing.
Something for nothing. I guess, I mean, if you're talking like star power, like you could argue that Roman character is up there.
But he doesn't have to take the pin.
He doesn't have to take the pin, but then you talk about the tag team of the Usos. It's better than any tag team of Evolution. But as a faction, I mean, but you take Evolution.
Ric Flair and Batista were a champion. They were world champion.
They were, but at the same level. And then you look at just Evolution as single members versus all the single members of that. I'm still gonna go. It would seem crazy for me to pick the Bloodline, so I'm picking Evolution. I don't think it's particularly close. Maybe like are we doing an eliminator match? I like those.
Oh no, if you do an eliminator match, then Bloodline wins this thing.
Okay, so I guess we'll just do it normal, so I can stick with my pick. So I guess you give me Batista gets the win over Solo, I guess.
Oh yeah, I'm picking Evolution all day long here. Are you kidding me? Yeah. Are you kidding me? I mean, like you say, line them all up 1v1 and do it. So the weak link here is old Flair against Solo, but Batista is murdering Jey Uso. Randy Orton probably has beaten Jimmy a ton of times in his career as is, and then you have Triple H and Roman Reigns, which Roman would obviously get the win there, but like not by much at this point. This was the cerebral assassin. This was the game. Triple H, baby. I mean, that was World Heavyweight Champion Triple H. He didn't let Booker T go over. Why would he let Roman Reigns go over? Evolution was amazing. Batista was a star. Obviously, Randy Orton. They gave him the belt during that time.
Still doing it.
That was the end of Evolution, kind of, when he won the championship, and he's still doing it. I mean, you just line them up on paper. Come on, man. It's got to be Evolution.
Yeah, I would say the only thing that could maybe sway it, I guess, is you have the Bloodline, the Bloodline's family. So, like, maybe they work together better as a faction. But I don't think we've ever seen them in a match as a faction before.
War Games.
Yeah, but that had Sami Zayn, too.
Yeah.
Sami Zayn was the glue at that point.
If Sami Zayn was in this match, he would haluva kick every Evolution member, stack them up, and then have Roman pin them. They can't kick out of a haluva kick.
Flair bleeds. His haluva kick.
Flair's
just bleeding and just into the white hair.
Dude, yeah, he would give him a crimson mask for the haluva kick for sure.
Yeah.
He'd be selling that.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like it's got to be Evolution. I think Evolution in terms of factions is, depending, I mean, you guys have your opinions. It's easily you put them in your top 5.
I mean, I think Bloodline is the greatest faction of all time, but in terms of a 4v4 match, I like for a one night off, like Bloodline was I think the multi-year story of Bloodline was a much better story than Evolution's story. But in terms of just you want me to put them in a match together, just square up 4v4, then I'm picking Evolution. But if we're doing this via like the story surrounding both of them, then I mean Bloodline and Roman's aura is crazy.
Yeah, and that definitely carries it. I mean, the Bloodline as a whole, like you kind of look back on it, like you said, it is one of the greatest, if not the greatest story. Definitely best story in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And you look at it and it's like Roman really carries that. Whereas I think Jay, Jimmy, and Solo, they each did their parts. They were very complementary parts versus Evolution. They were they're each in their own like stars. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you just look at all their resumes. Like Triple H is a 10 plus time world champion. It's like 15 or something like that.
I think he's 14.
14.
I think him and Orton are tied, yeah.
It's Orton 14 time. Ric Flair has the record. I mean, at this point, he had already won all those, but and then Batista. Come on. That dude was insane. So I think it's Evolution. If it's a match, it's Evolution by a landslide, honestly. So
yeah. I'm gonna agree with it, you know.
Hell yeah. Thank you guys for viewing the 10th episode of Cousins of Destruction Wrestling Podcast. We appreciate all the love and support through these past few starting months of the podcast. And we're looking forward to keep on growing, keep on chugging along. We're not going anywhere. So follow us on all of our socials at COD WrestlePod, COD WrestlePod, and listen to us wherever you get your podcasts at Spotify, Apple, etc. And share us with whoever you might think likes this wrestling content. And as always, I'm Will. That's Brandon. We are the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling Podcast, and we will see you next time.